Welcome back to the Gospel Fantasy Football Show, and I hope you guys had an exciting week of football. I hope you got a couple of W's in there, and if you didn't, it is not time to panic. It does not matter just yet. We are going to guide you through the season. Make sure that you are paying attention to all the things you need to pay attention to. I am your host, Zay, the Fantasy Football Fiend, and I have my guy, the Fantasy Nostradamus, Young Vanda. Holla at the people.
Hey, what's going on out there?
So remember, we are on YouTube at the Gospel STP and if you have not joined the Facebook group yet, the Gospel Sports Truth Facebook group, make sure you join that. We give a whole ton of information there. Even go as far as breaking down fantasy, giving you a little bit more, carries, the timeshares, the targets, all that kind of good stuff. We put that information out there as well. So make sure you join there. Hopping right into news and notes, we have quite a bit going on right now. As far as quarterback is concerned, Joe Burrow is officially moved to IR, and it is deemed that he will need surgery for his turf toe, which means that if everything goes perfectly, the surgery, the rehab, pain tolerance, all of that good stuff. If everything goes perfectly, he'll be available for week 2 of the fantasy playoffs. Um, so yeah, I mean, that's. I know we've had personal conversations, and I told you I don't predict injury, but I'm pretty good at predicting an injury. I told you I just couldn't pick him where he needed to be drafted because I didn't feel comfortable with his likelihood of making it through the season. We'll talk about another guy that I said the same thing about. I told people to kind of look out for Jordan Mason because the guy that was supposed to be the head of that backfield didn't quite make it through the season many times as well. We'll talk about that when we get to running backs. But Joe Burrow, as well as your boy from the 49ers, Mr. Purdy, hurt. Purdy's probably not quite as hurt as Joe, based on the prognosis of the time he's going to come back. Another quarterback that had a little bit of an injury scare, JJ McCarthy, looks like he may be out up to 2 weeks. Justin Fields is in concussion protocol, so we don't know with 100% certainty if he's going to be available or how that piece is going to work out. We have been seeing as of late, and when I say as of late, I'm talking about in the last couple of years, we've been seeing quarterbacks, which is the position that's supposed to not kind of get nicked up, be your main players that you have to end up having to replace. What are your thoughts as far as these various situations, their replacements? What are we thinking? I know in some situations that they may already be on rosters or they may be waiver situations. What are we doing here?
Well, I mean, if you're in a one QB league, then there should be some good getting available for you. A guy like Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones. I mean, he may not know it, being sleeping under a rock, but Daniel Jones is the second quarterback as far as fantasy points, only behind Lamar Jackson. So he'd be a quarterback that'd be available for you in your redraft, one QB leagues, guys like him. Now, if you're in a flex league, of course, you want to go after the Brownings, go after the Mac Jones of the world. Tyrod Taylor, maybe not so much, but he can possibly play this week. Coach Glenn came out and said if you can't practice, you can't play. So that's something to watch as far as Justin Fields goes throughout the week. Um, as far as the play itself, uh, and also Carson Wentz. Since you talk about JJ McCarthy, who they say he could possibly be missing for anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. So that's a pretty good bit of amount of games as well. So we got Wentz, we got Brown, and we got Matt Jones. I think all are decent guys. If you're in a double quarterback superflex league to replace and I think can keep you afloat. You know, a lot of backup quarterbacks, not so much, but those three guys, I would say, maybe can keep you afloat in your league until your QB returns or maybe you get a trade.
Desmond Ridder ended up joining Minnesota just as a backup situation. There are a couple of quarterbacks that we don't even really need to speak about that went to Cincinnati that solidifies Browning's status as the go-to guy unless or until Burrow is available. JJ McCarthy will be backed up by Carson Wentz again. That may be a couple of weeks. Now, here's the thing. When Carson Wentz, what's your barometer, if you will, on whether or not he'll play well enough that they just let JJ go ahead and get a couple of more weeks of healing in, and then possibly say, hey, JJ, we're doing so well right now that you're still the guy. Don't hear what we're not saying, but we're gonna let Carson keep the train rolling right now. But like, what would it take for that to happen?
Simple wins. It's all about wins and losses at this point. So
JJ
I think it's
out 2 weeks. Carson wins 2 weeks. Is his job? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think 2 weeks. But if JJ's out 4 weeks and Carson wins 4 games, then it's going to be a little tricky for you to, disrupt the chemistry of the team. If they're winning and it's 4 and then a 4-game win streak, I don't know if you bring JJ back in the fold. And if he does come back in the fold, he may have a quicker hook. Now that you've seen a guy like Wentz was able to perform and win 4 straight games. So as far as 2 weeks, I think that's still not a lot of time for him to make a whole QB change. But the 4 games that's a little bit more a big larger plate.
And your boy Jayden Daniels, he was seen limping at the end of the game. He said to have a knee sprain. Marcus Mariota is set to go if he can't. What's your scare meter as far as this situation is concerned? Because a decent amount of fantasy points comes from running, does that kind of scare us off a little bit? A decent amount of his playmaking comes from the ability to run the ball, or at least make the defense think that you have the capability to run. Does that make him a little bit more of a sitting duck if he isn't 100% healthy, or how are we looking at this situation?
As far as scare meter, I'm going to say 5. I'm not really afraid at all, because I think it's an LCL sprain, which I had before. It's probably going to be a couple weeks till he's probably back to where he want to be.
You think he'll play though, or
yeah, I think he could possibly play. I'm not saying he will play this week, but I definitely could say in the next week definitely can play. And if he does play, I think it's your natural reaction. He's going to try to run anyway. He's not going to be out there limping around. It's not that bad. I think even if it's bothering him a little bit, he'll play with a brace more than likely, and he doesn't have to run a whole lot to do what he need to do just to maneuver and move out of the pocket. So I'm really not that concerned about this particular injury. Mariota may get 1 start, but I don't think it'd be much more than that.
Talk about being in the doghouse. A guy that a lot of us had decently high hopes for isn't doing very much. He's actually costing his team big right now. Your boy Caleb Johnson, running back for Pittsburgh. We kind of thought that he may rival Warren for the starting spot, but right now he's kind of messing up a bit. I'm not sure if you guys saw the game, but special teams snafu, if you will. He decided to just let the ball go over his head on the kickoff like it was a punt. I'm not sure if he's never been on special teams before, and he didn't realize that if you do a kickoff, whatever team recovers the ball, it's their ball.
Well, no. The thing that confuses him is the new rules. So if the ball lands in that landing zone, it's a live ball. You can understand college rules and old rules is, okay, if it goes to the end zone, it's a touchback. You see what I'm saying? But with these new rules, if the ball hits the landing zone, it's live no matter if it goes in the end zone or not.
Well, that's not a new rule to the NFL per se. What I mean by that is landing zone or no landing zone. If it's a kickoff, and you're kicking the ball and you get to the ball first, that's your ball. So he's in the NFL,
but
living
usually
by college rules.
no, and even in the old NFL, if it goes to the end zone, it's a touchback.
But he touched it. Like you can't. It's a live ball. If the ball hits you.
I didn't know he touched it. I thought it just hit that new.
It like hit his helmet or something. It like jumped over.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But it was obvious that it touched him, though. It wasn't like he didn't know the ball touched him, but I guess he didn't know that if the ball touches him, even if it goes into the end zone at that point.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was thinking that with the new rules that, also if it hits that landing zone, it's a live ball. So I thought he was thinking, okay, I didn't know that part. I didn't know the ball actually touched him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, he was trying to field the ball and it kind of flipped over him and hit him.
But the funny thing about
it, go after the ball at that point. He just started walking away.
He doesn't take me as a special teams player. He's just a straight up running back. And I think they're trying to fit squares into circles. And this is what happens when you take a guy that's really not a special teams guy, like Bigsby for the Eagles. He's not a special teams guy, but you got him trying to return kicks with this new kickoff rule per se. They're not putting your typical returners back there. They're putting guys that's good with the ball in space because it's like a run or something like that. So
it is.
So they definitely feel a victim to that for sure.
But my thing is this too, that falls on the coach as well. It's kind of like when you're at the end of the game and everyone starts blaming the running back for running out of bounds. The coach, the quarterback, the backup running back, the OC, everybody. Hey, just so we're on the same page, right? You drop before you get out of bounds. We want to keep this clock going. Like, there's no way you overlook certain aspects. Like, you can't take for granted that it's on their mind that this may actually happen. So for me, like that's one of those things that I got to make sure you understand before I put you in that situation. Another running back, we kind of spoke about a little bit earlier, Aaron Jones Sr., he is on IR, so he'll be out at least 4 weeks, dealing with a hamstring injury. He's an older running back, and he's had hamstring injuries before that have kind of plagued him for much longer than 4 weeks. So I don't know that this is a 4-week injury per se. I also don't know that he gets his job back after 4 weeks of Jordan Mason doing what he does full time as well. So this can be one of those situations where even if the injury is 4 weeks, the prognosis of him going back to having the same level of opportunity is much slimmer. So it's going to be interesting to see what Minnesota does, but this is one of those situations that I pointed out earlier on that I wanted all the pieces of Jordan Mason that I can get because Aaron Jones is likely to be injured, and lo and behold, going into week 3, he is that and will be going minimally for 4 weeks. So I think that's more than enough opportunity for Mason to show what he really has. And I don't know if you guys recall or not, but similar system out there in Cali with the 49ers, you couldn't tell the difference between his numbers and CMC's when he had the full reign. So I'm not saying that this system will mimic the 49ers system. I'm just saying that if I can get my hands on this guy and I'm in running back trouble, if I can get my hands on this guy and I'm not in running back trouble, I want him. Your prognosis?
I like it. I like Mason. I mean, even before the injury, he looked well in a little bit of short period of time he was playing. He looked pretty good running the ball. So now that he's out, I love him even more. He can very well be an RB1.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I'm saying? And so this is my thing. I think if you are a Mason owner, more than likely you probably already have your starters. If you're in a super flex league, then maybe or flex league, he could be now your new flex guy. Or if you're one of these standard leagues with the 2 running backs, one of those straightforward leagues, and you already have 2 premier running backs, then you may be able to use Mason as leverage to trade with a running back needy team and then fill out maybe a wide receiver or Brock Bowers or maybe a quarterback if you need that. So Use
Absolutely.
that talent.
Absolutely.
Use that talent while it's hot, because Aaron Jones' return, they're probably going to split back up, but the split may favor more Mason if he plays well. So
I feel like Mason was the better runner before Jones got hurt. Like he just looked to be the better runner, and Jones was obviously the better pass catcher, and which that's kind of been the story of his career all the way since Green Bay. He's been the third down, let me catch it out of the backfield guy, and he needed somebody else to be the battering ram, or he ends up getting hurt. So wide receiver. Jaden Waddle is still dealing with a shoulder issue. We have Jalen Reed, who gets foot and clavicle surgeries. So yeah, the likelihood of him being ready to go anytime soon or slim to none. Christian Kirk is expected to be back for week 3. Trey Harris is expected to have a bigger role going forward with the Chargers. We'll see how that goes. One guy that I want to ask you about for waiver wire purposes. What is your prognosis on Devontae Walker, the young buck there with the Baltimore Ravens, with 2 catches and 2 touchdowns? He caught both of his targets for 26 yards, 2 touchdowns on Sunday against the Browns. Is this just one of those happenstances and you're likely to not see anything like that again for the rest of the year? Or is this a guy that you may want to stash just in case?
no, I don't think so. I don't think it's a stash.
Okay.
I mean, 2 catches, 20-something yards, and he's a wide receiver. I think it just happens, happenstance. Lamar did throw like 5 touchdowns. I mean, we've seen Hopkins get a couple as well. You still have Bateman there. You still got Zay Flowers emerging. I think it's just, he happened to be there. Will he make a few catches here and there? For sure, but it's no different. He's not fantasy relevant, I don't think. I think that's just a good game by him.
Well, I'm going to tell you about a guy that is fantasy relevant, and I would be attempting to trade for him if possible. And this may seem a little counterintuitive, but especially dealing with PPR leagues, I've been talking about this guy for years, but Jacoby Myers is the focal point of the Raiders offense. 6 receptions on 12 targets, 68 yards. This guy can be a weekly set it and forget it type of receiver. In the same vein as, the yesteryear's Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, that type of situation where your slot guy, because of the amount of targets from that particular type of offense and the likelihood of them minimally getting somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 yards, 6 receptions, 60 yards, that's about minimum for the course, but that's giving you an average of 10 to 12 points per week from a guy that you really don't have to pay as much for as guys that do this on a weekly basis. So when you mix these type of guys in with your high flyers, that's how you become a consistent team. But Jacoby Myers is still, for my money, a highly disrespected fantasy guy. And I really still believe that you can go out and get this type of guy or another guy that's an oldie but goodie, and he'll be worth starting unless or until he's hurt. Keenan Allen, 2 straight weeks with touchdown, and he's pretty much free. Especially if you're in a win now mode in the dynasty league, you can pretty much get him for probably a 3rd round pick because that person is probably trying to get rid of him because he's had a touchdown in 2 weeks. So just depending on your situation, but a couple of guys to keep an eye on. Are there any guys that kind of caught your eye as guys that you may be able to buy low for depending on your situation, or guys that you just may want to keep an eye on as far as wide receivers are concerned?
Yeah, absolutely. Mine is going to be a waiver wire ad, and that'd be Wan'Dale Robinson, New York Giants.
That's my guy.
Right now, 18 targets in 2 weeks. 142 yards, touchdown in week 2. I think he's leading the NFL in like air yards, and I think number 2 is Neighbors. So, Russell Wilson is really letting that thing fly over there in New York. So I would say Wan'Dale Robinson, another wide receiver, something we spoke about. Troy Franklin, man. He's not getting more opportunity playing the slot over there in Denver. 8 catches, 89 yards, and touchdown. His route participation has went up. I think it's in like 88% or something like that this past week.
Yeah.
People must not forget that he played with Bo Nix at Oregon, so the chemistry is already there. Something they already had already. It's nothing they have to build on. And another wide receiver, I would say, another got to look out for the waiver wire possibility is Alec Ayomaner from the Titans. And he has 13 targets in 2 games, caught a touchdown last week. And he seems to be the number 2, I guess, guy in Tennessee, but he seems to be right there at the number 1. So the chemistry that him and Cam Ward is kind of building looks pretty good as well. So those are 3 wide receivers that I like as far as waiver wire ads that you might want to look into. As far as trading for some of those guys, I got a question for you. So how you feel about, would you buy low, or what would be your ideal on a guy like BTJ right now?
It's weird because with all the quote unquote improvements that the Jaguars had in the offseason, they look the same. Like they actually look worse. I'm still going to attempt to buy BTJ low and kind of keep my fingers crossed, because we know the talent is there for sure. But I don't know what the disconnect is, and that can be an issue going forward.
I'm gonna tell you what it is. Trevor Lawrence not that good. I think it's just what it is. I don't think what people
if
thought
you
he
can't
was.
get it together with this receiving core and in this offensive style,
because at this point, right? If you came out of, he was supposed to be generational. And let's think about the guys that he did have. You just had Doug Peterson, who used to be known as a QB guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to get you right. And now and it's early, of course, we bring in Liam, who revived Baker Mayfield from the dead. Yep. Everybody was saying Baker Mayfield. I mean, he was a backup quarterback. You remember? And with the Rams, he's a backup. He revived him. Now he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And through 2 games, the way you're playing and the way you even look on the field, it's not looking promising. I mean, it's starting to look like maybe you're the issue.
And to make it even worse, for Mac Jones to be let go and go to the 49ers and make them look like they didn't lose a step with Brock Purdy not being there. Now you're making it look like the guy that was the backup could have been an answer if we didn't push all our chips to the table with paying you. So you can't even really get rid of this guy at this point, because if everybody else is saying what you are, why would we want to take over that contract when he ain't worth that? Like, he's not that guy. Why would I not want to go the route of a Giants and pick up a Russell Wilson or a Jameis Winston, or there's several vets that are always out there. Why would I not want to go that route versus paying a guy who is younger that type of contract just because it's time for his contract to be paid? Like, I wouldn't have gone that route. But yeah, that's pretty much where we are. Before we hop into rapid fire 10, couple things we can speak to as far as tight end is concerned. Now, Darren Waller of the Miami Dolphins was able to log in a practice. He was dealing with the hip injury. Look, you had 2 years off and you still dealing with injury. Please don't buy the name and don't buy the hype. He's gonna have to do something before I even would remotely consider, even as a spot start. Cade Otton, first 3 catches of the season. So 3 catches out of 4 targets, 25 yards in the Monday night win over the Texans. Not a whole lot else going on in the wonderful world of tight end outside of, I do have a question for you. The Cleveland Browns situation. We knew that Flacco was a quarterback that tends to favor the tight end, especially when you have a wide receiver situation where it's kind of in flux within itself. But what we've been seeing is the rookie is the tight end that's been getting more love. What's my guy's name? Is it Fannin, I believe?
Yeah, Fannin Jr.
Fannin Jr. And Njoku, the guy that we thought would have been a great value based on previous chemistry with Flacco, is kind of the one left out in the cold. Is that something that we should pay attention to as far as, because tight end is so helter-skelter as it is. Is this something that we should pay attention to, especially as far as dynasty is concerned? Or could you not pay attention to it regardless because you don't want to hit your wagon to it for redraft? And we already know that Flacco isn't a long-term quarterback. So even if he does have a relationship with the rookie, doesn't mean that the next guy will. So is this something to look at, or just it is what it is for now until it changes, and it'll probably change when the next man comes up?
Two things can be true. I mean, the way things looking, Flacco very well may not be in there very long. But one thing about Fannin Jr., he runs most of his routes out of the slot. So if you watch Cleveland Brown games, you'll see he lines up in the slot a lot. He lines up at wide receiver a lot. And he lines up in line tight end a lot. So even though he had the tight end tag, a lot of his routes are run out of the slot. So he's like a glorified wide receiver. If you look at his production in college, he had more receiving yards than all the receivers. I think he had like 1,500 yards receiving at tight end. You know what I mean? So he's one of those guys, kind of a tweener. So there that goes. And we did see a Daniel a Gabriel sighting Sunday, who threw a touchdown, more touchdown passes than Jalen Hurts this year. Crazy, right? So we don't know how long this is going to last. If Flacco goes ahead and struggles early, we may see the switch Sunday. We may see Gabriel come right in and take it from there and then go from there, and we'll see what happens.
And that pretty much wraps up tight end, which also wraps up the news and notes for the week. And now we are going to go right ahead and hop into rapid fire 10 quick questions, 10 quick answers. Who are you guys looking to start? What we got this week, young man?
Rapid fire 10, man. Straight into it. Who do I start? Daniel Jones or Dak Prescott?
Ooh, that's a little bit tougher than I thought you was going to throw a Bo Nix out there or something like that. We're almost far enough into the season where I say go with what you see versus what you paid for.
Okay.
But I'm probably about 1 or 2 weeks away from go with what you see. I'm going to still go with what I paid for in that this week. If I see it from Daniel Jones again, I don't care what quarterback you throw out there. I'm going to go with what I paid for until he gets hurt, which I also think is probably likely to happen, which is why I wouldn't jump out of the gate just in case y'all are thinking about trading for him or anything like that. I haven't seen him stay healthy.
All right. Again, we got Daniel Jones or Justin Fields.
Well, Justin Fields is in concussion protocol, so I'm not 100% certain if he's going to go this week. But if it's a battle between the two, I know last week Justin Fields had a bit of a down week. I do still believe in his year-long prognosis. I would, in that case, leave it to the matchup. And we have New Jersey going up against Tampa Bay, and we have Indy going up against Tennessee. I believe Jones has the easier matchup, although long-term for the season, I would go with Fields for this week's matchup. If you have both, I'm going to lean towards Jones.
All right, we got Javonte Williams or Jordan Mason.
Mason. And I know Williams has gotten a couple of touchdowns here and there. Like Mason is different. And when you don't have competition for touches, and going up against Cincinnati, like you couldn't ask for a better coming out party. Like I may start Mason this week over your boy Williams out there in LA with the Rams, who's a stud in his own right. Don't hear what I'm not saying, but with no competition and going against Cincinnati, that's almost a must start. And by the way, Williams is going up against Philly. just so you know, and it's at Philly. So
Mm.
again, that's one of the reasons I'm looking at that. But just throwing that out there.
We got Travis Etienne or Ja'Cory Cross-Key Merritt.
This is another situation where Austin Eckler is out for the year, and it looks like Bill, as he is lovingly known, is going to be the guy. So I think I'm a roll with Bill. I wasn't overly impressed by Las Vegas's defense, and he's one of those guys that he can struggle throughout the entire game and just bust one quick touchdown for 60 yards and make your whole week. So give me that guy.
We got Trey Benson or Bashu Tutin.
Give me Tootin. I believe that they're carving out a role for him regardless of what happens with ETN. Give me the guy that has a role versus the guy that's just going to kind of spell the starter when he's tired or is going to have limited plays that are designed for his skill set, which is where I think Trey Benson still is, although he's one of the more important handcuffs.
We got Rome Aduze or Tyreek Hill.
I kind of like Tyreek this week. I know Miami has been kind of stuck in the mud a little bit, but they're going to have a little bit of familiarity going up against, I believe their opponent this week is Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a little bit of familiarity there. And then Buffalo also has some holes in the secondary. And Hill is one of those guys that can get you your week with one pass. So I'll go that route.
DJ Moore or Ted McMillan.
I still don't like Carolina's offense, although they decided to show up when it was too little too late, but I'm still not really feeling them quite. They're one of those teams that should have started everybody all 3 weeks of the preseason. So give them another couple of weeks and I might change my mind, but right now I'm bench tech.
We got Harold Fannin Jr. or Juwan Johnson.
Juwan Johnson. I'm going to stay in the Flames. It looks like him and Spencer Rattler have a bit of a rapport, and I'm going to stick with that.
Okay. We got Juwan Johnson or Tyler Warren.
Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren, man, like, I don't know if y'all are looking at these targets and receptions, but he might just mess around and win Rookie of the Year. If things continue to go down the path, like this guy is putting up consistent points and he hasn't scored a touchdown yet. I don't believe he's one of the better tight ends right now in fantasy, and he hasn't scored a touchdown yet. That excites me to no end. So yeah, give me Warren. I think he's due for a touchdown this week, and he's still going to get the targets and catches that he's been getting.
We got Emeka Ibuka or Ramondre Stevenson.
Okay, flex question. New England going up against Pitt. Tampa Bay going up against the Jets. But Sauce will be on Evans, which means that it's more likely for Ibuka to be focused on by Mayfield. That tends to work out well for Ibuka. So give me Ibuka.
And last but not least, it's digging deep. We got Cam Scatterbo or Tyler Algier.
I'm gonna go with Scat. Logic behind it is this: I believe that Tyler Algier is actually the better running back, but I believe that Scatterbo might just mess around and get an opportunity to fight for the number one running back position. We know Bijan ain't going nowhere no time soon. So Algier will always be the 1B unless 1A is hurt. Scat has the opportunity to possibly take over the backfield, so let me rock with that guy because of volume.
All right, so that concludes our rapid fire 10.
Rapid fire 10. All right, so let's go ahead and hop into the matchups for the week. The ones that are start them if you got them, and the ones that are don't start anybody, we won't really deep dive into. But the ones that deserve a little bit more nuance, if you will, we'll do as such. So, with that being said, first matchup this Thursday is Miami against Buffalo. And Buffalo has a 12.5 point. Vegas is giving Buffalo 12.5 points.
That's a lot.
And they're likely to cover it. That's the sad part.
That's tough.
But that's a whole lot. That's a whole lot. Which also is implying that they're going to be kind of running away with this thing at some point. So I definitely love James Cook. And I love for Allen to get at least one rushing touchdown and one passing touchdown. Miami, the thing that could work out well for them with the porous defense is they do have the pieces that they can put up fantasy points. So for me, this isn't a must sit anybody. If you were thinking about starting any of these guys, I would go ahead and start them just because they're kind of familiar with each other and they don't normally, neither team normally shuts the other down. There's also a 49.5 point over under, which may be the highest over under. It's tied for the highest over under with the Dallas Chicago game. So anytime I have a game where Vegas is saying the most points of the week might be scored in this game, I kind of want to have a couple of guys from that game involved in my fantasy land. So that's why I'm at with that matchup. Green Bay, Cleveland. What you got? 7.5 points going to Cleveland.
This is probably going to be the number one defense of the week.
Okay.
Like Green Bay.
Oh yeah.
Getting out of Cleveland. I think it's going to be. They're going to get ran over. I think Green Bay could be able to take advantage of them defensively. As far as on the other end of the ball, of course you're going to just start your guys. You have to, but I think you have to temper your expectations as far as Jacobs go. This Cleveland Brown defense is pretty good too. Pretty good against the run, and with the wide receiver core that they have, I'm not comfortable playing any of them, to be honest with you. I think this is probably going to be a choppy game for Jordan Love. So this could probably be an ugly game, in all honesty. A game with two defenses. I'm curious on looking at Quinshon Judkins this game.
Okay.
They came out and announced him as the starter. But I'm not comfortable yet as far as starting him and as far as the fantasy goes. So I just think the defenses is probably going to be your target. I'm not. Of course, you're going to play Josh Jacobs, and if you got Joe Love, I guess you're forced to. But I'm not really nobody really sticks out in this game for me as far as fantasy goes.
Indy against Tennessee next matchup. This is one of those. If you got Warren, if you got Jones, if you got JT, run with them. I'm not really in a position to say you got to start anybody from Tennessee yet. Hopefully they'll kind of gel a little bit. I'm hoping that Ridley kind of develops a little bit more rapport. Indy's defense has actually been a little bit better than what I thought they were going to be. So, and Tennessee's offense has been one of the worst. So, the Indy side of the ball, the Indy defense, I actually just picked up off the waivers in one of my leagues. I do plan on starting that Indy defense, and that's kind of where I am there. Cincinnati against Minnesota. What you got?
Battle of the backups.
Yeah.
I like everybody, honestly.
I do too.
I think the backups are going to play well enough. If you got him, play him. We may see a better Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz one time ago used to be an MVP candidate. It was a while ago.
And Wentz's specialty is the deep ball too. So I mean,
yeah, I think this is. I think if you got him, start him for sure on both ends. I think Browning, he's gonna have some good plays and he's gonna make some mistakes. That's what he does. He throw he's like the white Jameis Winston. I mean, he's gonna.
I can see that.
He's gonna
3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions every game.
You know what I'm saying?
I can see that.
You're gonna do some good. You're gonna do some bad. You just have to take it with a. But fantasy wise, it's gonna still play out. He's gonna get you 20 plus fantasy points. However, he's gonna find it somehow. He might not win the game, the real game.
He's gonna get you 22 points. And then by the end of the game, if it's -2 for every interception, you're gonna end up around 17. That's pretty much how that's gonna round out.
You know
but yeah.
But yeah, if you got him, start him. I'm definitely interested in seeing Jordan Mason play against this team, and I think he very well could be an RB1 this week.
I am really considering benching Kyron Williams this week. In starting Mason, just because of the defenses. When you have Kyron Williams at Philly and you have Mason at home going up against the Bengals defense, that just seems like a recipe for some good things to happen for the running back. And I don't see Williams being able to get off on Philly, even if he does well. I can see Mason getting off on the Bengals. And actually, that's the next matchup: Cincinnati versus Minnesota. I mean, excuse me, not Cincinnati versus Minnesota. We just talked about that. Pittsburgh versus New England. Excuse me. With New England versus Pittsburgh, I don't have a single must start in this game. If you have to start some guys, super flex, things of that nature, as far as quarterback is concerned, you got to do what you got to do. Pittsburgh defense didn't look as good as it did on paper on the field last week. So, but at New England, 2 sturdy defenses, I don't know that I'm chomping at the bit to start anyone from those games. The game that I kind of talked about a little bit, the Rams versus Philly. What you got on that matchup?
The Rams versus Philly. This game is probably starting if you get them. I think I like Puka Nacua a lot more. I think you might have tempered your expectations on Devontae. Devontae's Devontae, but he's gonna have Quentin Mitchell on him and Quinyon Mitchell, and I think that's gonna be something that helps slow him up a little bit. Kyron Williams with the run game probably gonna be slow. Curious to see if AJ Brown can get back on track. It hasn't been looking good as far as them pass catchers wise.
Let me ask you this before you move forward with the matchup. Is this a guy that you're trying to trade for or trade away?
AJ Brown?
Yeah.
I think I would trade away if I can get, for his name's sake, I can get back in return. I think if you don't get low ball for him, then no, you just keep him. I'm not going to take Emeka Ibuka for him.
Okay.
But I will take Rome.
That's a very good. I like that comparison because Ibuka's had a great couple of weeks. Brown's had probably the worst couple of weeks he's had as a wide receiver, and that desperate person may look at Ibuka and say, "Hey, this is the BTJ of this year. This is the Garrett Wilson of years past when he got rookie offensive rookie of the year, all that kind of good stuff." Where Ohio State wide receivers tend to come out ready, but don't jump the shark. Yeah, so I definitely like that comparison because I'm willing to believe that someone is contemplating something in that vein.
I think I would take Rome Odunze for him though.
Wait. So you like Rome more than you like Obeka?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
I definitely don't.
Because he's the number one guy right now.
He is, but I don't know that remains the same. There's just so many pass catchers in Chicago that my fear is when I need you the most is the game that you won't get targeted. Because if I can see that you're getting the most targets and getting production, someone else can just go ahead and shade towards you. They don't have the option to not throw Ibuka the ball in Tampa Bay. They don't have an option. So I like the guaranteed volume there. But I do kind of think that I like the quarterback and I like the guaranteed volume. So I think we'll kind of have to agree to disagree on that one. But I do see where you're coming from, though. Tampa Bay, New Jersey. What you got?
Tampa Bay, New Jersey, or New York.
New York.
I think I'm going to go with. I like what you were saying about Emeka. He'd probably see a lot more targets, a lot more opportunities. Same thing I thought this past week when they played the Texans with Stingley harassing Mike Evans.
There you go.
So he'll be the guy that probably you're going to see a little bit more of. The run game on both teams, I think, I think we'll finally get to see Bucky Irvin be Bucky Irvin this game.
Okay.
I think he'll actually get his opportunity. But if you play him, you got him. But kind of temper your expectations with Breece Hall because the Bucs are really good against the run. They give up the pass, but they're really good against the run. And we'll see who was at the quarterback because that's going to make a real big difference whether it's Tyrod Taylor or Justin Fields as well. So, but if you got them, you start guys, start them. There's no value here, no tricky guys or anything of that nature. But that's pretty much it on that.
Vegas versus Washington. Not going to really go too deep into that. If Jayden Daniels if Washington is starting them, you start them. Anybody on either one of those teams that you would normally start them. I don't see any reason for you not to at this point. Carolina versus Atlanta. This is one of those matchups where I kind of feel like it's either going to be a familiarity dampening both offenses, or Carolina is going to get boat raced. It's going to be one of those are the only two. I don't see an avenue by which Carolina takes Atlanta to the woodshed, but I can see this either been a very low scoring, neither one of these teams are looking very good on offense, or in Atlanta just beat them in the first half and then they just picked and choose what they were going to do in the second half. That's kind of the range of outcomes there. What you got for Jacksonville and Houston?
I think Nico Collins continues to show why he's Nico Collins this game. I think when I do have a value play in this game, that'd be Dyami Brown. I think Dyami Brown is a sneaky value, sneaky play this game, especially if BTJ is still up in the air. What's going on? Some people saying he have a wrist injury, so who knows? He don't looking very engaged. I think Bashu Tootin will continue to carve out a bigger role in this offense. And he'll play well as well. Nick Chubb actually didn't. Well, he saved his fantasy night with that touchdown.
Yeah.
But he didn't really. Woody Marks actually pretty good. I think he's someone that can continue.
Do you think Marks takes over at some point in the near future?
I think he can grow. I think the legend can grow. Let's see if he can come out there and have another good game. But as far as my values, I think Dyami Brown is my favorite value of this game. But as far as the guys, you just start them if you got them with those two particular teams. I'm gonna definitely say Dyami Brown too for another reason, because even if BTJ is playing, he got Stingley. So
yep.
And Travis Hunter hasn't really shown that he's willing to take the reins yet. So Dyami is probably a sneaky DFS play as well.
Now, this one, I am interested to see how you feel, because we have a division game, and I know it may feel weird to say, but they might actually be the best two teams in the AFC West. And that's Denver and the Chargers. What are we doing here?
This is going to be a good one. Of course, with these two teams, you have to just play who you got. But I think everybody fantasy output is going to be turned down. I think Dobbins is going to go back lower. The running game for the Chargers is going to be a little bit lower. Bo Nix, I think everybody's usual. It won't be the usual in this game. I think it's going to be an ugly game. Two great defenses going to be on display. But I do have my eyes on my boy Franklin.
Troy Franklin? Yeah.
The Franklin wide receiver for the Broncos, and see if he can continue. But I think Sutton will continue to struggle. This game doesn't help him out at all with what he got going on. So I think this would be another down game for him. I wouldn't be as comfortable starting him.
New Orleans going up against Seattle. Don't start him if you don't have to. Moving on. Chicago going up against Dallas.
I love the Seattle. I love the Seattle defense, though.
I can see that. But at the same time, though, I don't know. They are at Seattle. But Spencer Rattler seemed to be a little better this year than he was last year. And he seems to have a little bit better command of the offense this year than he had last year. So I don't think that New Orleans is the gimme game. Like it's like the offense that you want to target if you're one of those people that don't really stick to a defense and you're just going with best on board every week or best matchup every week. I don't think that they're the team you want to target, but they're most definitely not the team that you want to run away from. So I can definitely see what you got there. What you got with Chicago going up against Dallas?
My boy George Pickens probably going to continue to build over his week 2 performance. If you got him starting, I think this is going to be a high power, high scoring.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying? No matter how ugly the game is, as far as the ending, because the Cowboys going to be feeling sad if they lose to the Bears, and Caleb Williams is going to get more hate if he loses to the Cowboys. But Caleb Williams is going to have a good fantasy game. I'm not sure if he's going to win the game, but when the day is said, he probably going to have 20 plus fantasy points. I think Roma Duze is another great play this week. He probably reached the end zone again. And I'm looking for maybe some a Kyle Manange sighting, trying to see if he gets more involved as his offense continues on. And I think Javonte Williams continues to have a sneaky good season thus far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I like the matchup.
Go ahead.
No, I said I like the matchup with Javonte.
San Fran going up against Arizona. It will be in San Fran. I don't dislike any of the plays in this game, honestly. I like Mac Jones against Arizona's defense. I like Kyler Murray against San Fran. A little bit of a different defense than they've had in the past. This is one of the more high scoring over unders of the week at 44.5. I just kind of don't see a reason to sit anybody that you would normally start in this game. If you have Connor, if you have CMC, Murray, Harrison, Juan Jennings, even on the San Francisco side, I would Parasol. I'm not going to start anyone in this matchup that I would normally start. Last, but actually not last. We have 2 more matchups. We have Kansas City going up against the Giants, and then we have Detroit going up against Baltimore. What say you, sir? And by the way, Detroit against Baltimore is the highest over-under of the week at 52.5 points, and Monday night games tend to go over in general. They tend to score quite a bit of points on Monday night for whatever reason, Monday and Sunday night. But what do you think of those last 2 matchups as we wrap up here?
Wanda Robinson, one of my favorite players this week.
Okay.
Malik Neighbors will see McDuffie. A lot of McDuffie. And with that being said, Kansas City is giving up a good bit to the pass. They're a better team against the run. And I just like Wandale. The targets are there. I mean, him and Russell Wilson have a pretty good rapport. I love it. On the other end, I mean, you play the guys you have to play on the Kansas City Chiefs. But I'm not a real fan of Hollywood Brown. I don't think he's quite got it yet. Even with Xavier Worthy out, he still hasn't shown that he can beat the guy. And Xavier Worthy may play this game as well.
Okay.
I'll look for him to return.
How you feel about Kelce?
Kelce's need to retire.
It's starting to look that way.
I think he's 1 foot already out the game. Right now, he's just like, he's just here. I think he's trying to go on.
Scared to take the next step to move on to whatever's next right now.
I mean,
but
the ball that he dropped, it was just like, come on, man. Like, he just
should have had a touchdown.
But then, after the game, you're taking pictures at a party with your girl and all that. I just think he's just too caught up in the limelight. I think it's just time for him to go ahead and go. Thank you for your service. You did everything. You're Hall of Famer, first ballot. And no, I think it's just time to go. I think it's time to go. So there's a lot more people I'd rather play over Kelce. We spoke about a few. We talk about Tyler Warren. Talk about guys like Jawan Johnson. These guys are getting targets. Jawan Johnson, 9 targets. Week 1 had 11 targets. You got 20 targets.
For tight end. Huge
in 2 weeks.
That's more than most wide receivers.
Right. So there's a lot of guys I'd rather play. And if you're in a redraft league, look to trade them. If possible. Yeah. Trade the name per se. And if you can trade for
package them.
Yeah. If you can trade for a Tyler Warren, you could trade for one of these guys, and why not? I think you're gonna see way more production out of it.
And that pretty much wraps it up for this week. We will be back to you on next week, making sure we get you through the rest of the season. Again, make sure you go to the Facebook group if you have any last-minute start-sit questions or fantasy advice questions in general. For this week, we are done. And remember, good people, always tell the truth. Nothing but the truth. We out.